Welcome to our podcast. Did she really say that? Hosted by Truth Bomb. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Chef Katrina. I'm joined by my co-host
Heidi Mumois.
And we're here to talk again a little bit more about money. I know in our last episode we talked about, grants, credit, things like that. And we just got off an interview with a local women's chamber, which I think is really unique, is to find a women's chamber of commerce in the community, because it really is focusing on supporting female entrepreneurs and small business owners and growing their business. So I love that we got an opportunity to be on Good Morning Gwinnett and be part of that conversation. And what was interesting is when we were talking with our host, Audrey, we were talking about some of the interesting things around how women react to money, especially when it comes to asking for money for their business. And this is an interesting conversation that we wanted to bring to you, is asking for that money, but then when the money is presented to you, the rejection of it.
The fear of it.
The fear of it. And I think this is an interesting conversation to have with small business owners, especially women, because I don't know exactly the mindset around it. Like, I've done a lot of personal development myself. I've gone through a lot of training around mindset, beliefs around money, things that I held on to, fear of it, paying back people, a lot of that self-doubt around the business, and especially my own personal finances. I had to get through and work through a lot of that money fear also.
Yeah.
But I think it was interesting is that when we were talking to Audrey around this, how much women really want and are asking for support and using other people's money to start their business. And like I said, yet when the opportunity, she presented 2 opportunities.
Yes.
For people to get business loans, and it was an automatic rejection, no, I don't want to because it's a loan, I have to pay it back. So Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, because I think it's like when you take a loan or you look at something, even if it's a grant, I think it's like when women, when you're given this money, with it comes that responsibility too. And it's like, but we also, it's like we talk about how in the business world or in the corporate world, women are still paid less than men. But in the entrepreneur world, it's not any different. When women are in control of what they're being paid, they're still asking for less than what men ask for. And I think that's really profound, and it's really about that boils down to your mindset and what you feel that you're worth and the value that you are offering to your clients, to your customers. How do you feel that worth looks like to them? And it's like, and that reflects back to how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, I think in terms of, getting able, it's like, I love the idea that women say, hey, I want this money, I want this grant money, I want a business loan, but the idea of paying it back can seem daunting, right?
It is. It can be.
And I think a lot of that fear of paying back a loan, because I've experienced that as a business owner. There are times where we've taken out debt for building even Truth Bomb Academy. And it's like, well, how are we going to pay that back? How are we going to pay that off? Right.
Right.
One thing that I will say that in all my years of being an entrepreneur is that you have to have a price point around your products that, can cover your expenses, pay back that loan, and also make sure you're paying yourself.
Yeah.
And I think so many times that when somebody says, hey, I can give you $3,000 loan or a $10,000 loan, I think we need to ask bigger as women. Ask for that $20,000 loan, even though that you can't, you're like, what am I going to do with that money or whatever, or what else? That can give you a cushion around making those payments.
Yeah.
Right? If you're just getting by with a loan just to cover your basic expenses,
right,
I think that's the fear, is like you then don't have enough to pay back because you haven't either priced your products correctly, you're not marketing to the right audience around your product or service that you're offering. And so really that ability to pay back that loan starts to become an issue because you don't have a structure in place to ensure the ability to pay back, and then also having that plan to bring in that income.
Right.
So there's that unknown, because you don't know who to ask or even who to turn to ask these questions. Right. So if I get this money in, how do I pay it back?
Yeah.
And that comes in for understanding what is your structure of your business? What are you charging? And is it at a price point that can, keep you in business,
be profitable,
And are you targeting the correct audience?
Yeah, because it all boils down. It's like I saw a post in some entrepreneur group, women's entrepreneur group the other day. It was like why people struggle to come up with content for their marketing. And it's like, and if you don't have content for your marketing, a lot of times it boils down to you don't know what you're marketing. And it's like, so often in the business, it's like we think we have to throw out all this marketing so that we do bring in that income. But if you're not marketing your product or your services correctly, or if you're not even reaching the audience that you're trying to reach, oftentimes it boils down to you don't truly understand what your business is. You don't truly understand who your audience is. And it's like, and so you're throwing up marketing, seeing what sticks. It's like throwing spaghetti at a wall. And it's just like, so it's like if we jump into taking loans before we know what we're marketing, we don't have a structure or a foundation to our business. And we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks. And it's like, and I think that boils back to the fear of taking this loan or receiving this money and that responsibility behind it. Because as an entrepreneur, you don't have that security of a paycheck on Friday.
Yeah.
And so it's like the sales that you're making is all boiled back to what you're doing in your business and how much you understand your business that you're talking to people about. And it's like, if you don't understand your business, it's pretty hard to attract your audience, to attract those who want to buy from you. And it's like, because you don't know who they are.
Yeah. And I think, so it comes down to targeting. And I think it also comes down to, and we talk about this a lot inside of Truth Bomb Academy, is the financial cash management of the money that's coming in. So I think a lot of the times we work off that one business bank account, that one plate that we have. And because that's the money coming in, to take a loan, a business loan with an interest rate on it seems a little scary. But I will tell you this, credit cards right now, like if that's your alternative, you're using your personal credit cards to finance your bank is a downward spiral that you're never going to come out of.
Yep.
I have seen so many, including myself, I've done the same mistake, is that when we use our personal credit cards and as a way to kind of defer payment or to pay for our company to stay afloat, that becomes exhausting.
Yeah.
Because now we're racking up debt and we're not really looking at, okay, now you're also getting an interest rate at like 23%.
Right.
Right. What's interesting when you start getting into the small business loans and the money that can come to you, even if it's grant money that does have an interest to it, like you have to pay back some grants that are forgiven, right?
Right.
If you don't know how your financial structure is in place, you're going to struggle also.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get that money in and it's going to be on one plate.
Right.
And you're not looking at, okay, what is this going to? So it goes back to like who's you're targeting, but also understanding that money is allotted for this. It's allotted for running ads. It's allotted for getting my business cards. It's allotted for making sure I've got my brand everywhere. It's making sure if I'm doing live events with my products that I have the right tablecloth and everything else.
Yeah.
So like there are some things that you want to make sure that money has a purpose, but is also in that purpose, it's generating revenue.
Yeah.
Because that will then take the pain off of you around thinking, well, I don't want to take out a small business loan because I'm going to have to pay it back. You want to be paying it back. That's actually how you establish your business credit. That's how you get more money to be able to expand and grow your business, right? If you keep playing small, ladies, your business is going to stay small.
It's going to stay small.
And so you really have to look at, what am I doing to expand? What am I doing to request? Like I know here in Truth Bomb Academy, we've applied for different, business loans. We've applied for different business grants. Some we've gotten, some we haven't.
Right.
But that's part of us like putting it out there. Like we're not going to get everything we put out there, but why not build a business with other people's money?
Yeah.
That is literally what most of us are told we should do conceptually.
Right.
But when the offer is made and I can put in front of you a business loan that's available to you as a small business owner, as a woman, and you say, nope, because I have to pay it back, I'm not going to take the money.
Yeah.
Take the freaking money but make sure that you're in the conversation of how is that money getting dispersed? How is it going to, and it shouldn't go to your personal living expenses.
No.
It shouldn't go to paying off your credit card that you run this business with. It needs to have its own purpose. But you have to understand what your business is, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we cover inside of Unlocking My Millions.
Yep.
We go through what is your business. So we walk you through the foundation of your business. We walk through all of that because it's important. And the fact that we complain that there is money available, but we can't access it. The reason we struggle to access a lot of that money is because we don't have the structure in place in our business to show that we can pay back that loan.
Right.
That we have the product priced at the right level. Right. I know we want to give.
Yeah.
We love to give as women. We're really good at that.
Yes.
Right?
It is our special feminine trait.
It is. But we're also geared to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it is our strength and our feminine energy to receive.
Yeah.
And we know how to take care of it, but we have to trust ourselves to take care of what we receive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so a lot of times, like getting in these grants and in these monies, and we're going to continue talking about in our last podcast, we gave you some great references for grants, for loans, for establishing business credit, because that's the next step.
Yeah.
Once you have the business idea, it's then starting to understand what and how you can use different people's monies or banks' monies or other people's money to get you off the ground.
Yeah, definitely. And like to have a plan for how that money is going to keep moving, because money is cyclical. Money is it comes and it goes, and it's but when you have a management system for that money, and so that money is moving in the direction that's going to create the sales. Like you said, it's not about your personal finances, but it's about your business finances and how you're using those, that they create the income to pay it back and to move your business to the next level.
Yeah.
Because you do need, as I know that they often talk in the real estate investing world about other people's money and using other, and that's like a really big thing in real estate investing. But it's also, it can also, the same concept can be used in building your business. And it's like, but the fear of paying it back, well, often it's like, look at what that fear is coming from. Is it coming from because the marketing that you're currently doing isn't working? Is it like, and go back to like, why is this a fear that you're not going to be able to create the income to pay that loan back?
Yeah, and I think there's just so many ways to come at this topic, and I recognize that we keep kind of bringing this home. Yet every time we talk about helping women create those $1 million businesses, mm-hmm. and to do it in a more feminine way, and to make sure that you're honoring your cycle and making sure that you're honoring your energy and that you're really holding true to yourself and your most authentic self as a female, right? As a business owner, as a mom, as a spouse, as a friend, as a daughter, as, all the things that we encompass as women. Understanding how to build a business that flows within that, mm-hmm. right? You also have to understand that money is energy. Money flows also. So when you start tapping into your own personal cycle and your energy and how your day and your week works and your month works for you as you're building your business, we typically as women think in big pictures.
Yeah.
We look at a bigger, like when someone says something to me, in my brain, I see the impact of like lives, right? Like you say something to me, and I know this was Audrey also. It's like, if I say something, she's like, we picture millions of people. We see how this is going to impact. We see, if our kids do this, we see the consequences that are going to happen. The kids don't see it, right? The people around us don't see us, but we typically see consequences. We typically see outcomes. We typically see like all the different ways that something could happen, right? I was dropping off my niece and nephew the other day at the airport. So we get them to the security line. We get them to go through. They're doing this by themselves. They're taking this on. And at the same time, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they could be abducted. This could happen to them. This could, like, all the thoughts of like what potentially could happen. But I promise you, are oblivious to all of my concerns.
Right.
Right. They're not even looking at like, that's what's going to happen. But I know for us that oftentimes when we look at, if I take this business loan and I can't pay it back and I can't, like, this is why there's so much, legal and protection around establishing that business entity, right? When you set it up as an LLC, when you set it up as even a sole proprietor, or you have that S corp in there, you're setting up the business as its own entity, as its own business in the world. Yes, you're still attached to it in the beginning, right? But there's a point in about 2 years, if you're building your business, there is a point where your business starts establishing its own credit.
Yeah.
And then the business gets the loan, not you personally.
Right.
But the business starts getting the loans. The business starts establishing a higher credit line.
Mm-hmm.
And it no longer affects your personal credit, which means that you can then either restore and repair your credit because you're not holding the debt for your business.
Right.
And I think this is where a lot of us, like, we don't understand this. And I know I didn't for a long time. And I worked with a lot of really successful entrepreneurs and businessmen. And yet this conversation for some is still not part of our basic education in the world of business.
Yeah. There's so much marketing and business strategy, but the financial education is often not even brought up. It's not as like, how do you, when this money is all coming in, how do you manage it so that it doesn't just come in and go out just as fast?
Yeah.
And it's just like, so it's like, it's for us, it's the sustainability and longevity of your business, not just the instant success that you made 6 or 7 figures this year. It's like, how do you keep that 6 and 7 figures next year and the year after? And so that it actually grows and you do get to those $1 million, because it's one thing to make a 6-figure business this year. It's another thing to continue that business next year.
And the year after
and the year after.
And I see a lot of times that is when we get into business and we're really gung-ho and we're doing the work to get it going. But the method in which we're building these businesses, because we're thinking we have to do it all on our own.
Yeah.
Or it has to be, we hold really tight to our business ideas because we don't want someone else to steal it.
It's your baby.
It is our baby, right? But if you ever have, like with your kids, the tighter you hold on to them, the more they rebel.
Yes, the more they push you away.
So your
especially
business,
as teenagers,
right? Your business does the same thing. The tighter you hold on to your business, the smaller it gets.
Yes.
So when you start to let go of certain aspects of your business, when you start allowing other people to contribute in, when you start understanding how this money and these people are helping you grow your business. It opens it, or it actually takes weight off of you.
Yep.
And then you're not personally responsible for everything. You learn that it's the team that's going to help you grow.
Right.
This is where leaning into, we talk about, going to this Women's Chamber of Commerce, the Gwinnett's Women's Chamber of Commerce. Being part of that organization has been significant for us.
It has been.
Right? Because we get to meet other women in business. We get to kind of see what everything is. And that's so, so important because you don't know who you're going to meet that you can collaborate with.
Right.
You don't know who has a piece of the puzzle that you didn't even know existed.
Yep.
And so getting out and networking and meeting other people, even if you say, well, I live in a small town, trust me, there's industry around you in a small town. Somebody owns the grocery store. Somebody owns the gas station, right? Like somebody owns a utility company in that area. So it's about tapping into the knowledge that other people have and then using that knowledge and that skill set. That's why with Audrey and the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce that we're here locally here in Georgia, is that we get to tap into resources that Audrey has that we didn't even know existed.
Right.
Right. But if we did not be at these tables and we didn't keep going and making the commitment and the build that relationship, that's really what it's about.
It is about. And it's like, and sometimes it's like we think, time is money. And we're spending all this time going and building relationships, but it's like you can't just go. I know, like Audrey talked about this, how you can't just go to the meeting and expect to make a sale.
Yeah.
You're not going to make a sale. You're going to build relationships, and you're going to, because it's like, it's all about like what women do fantastic is the collaboration. And it's like, and I talk about this a lot because I think it really hones in a point where it's like the whole thing about the phrase about it takes a village to raise a child. And it truly does. And I look back at raising my kids and I was truly blessed by the village of the people that poured into me and my kids. And I was able to pour into them and their kids. And the same thing happened homeschooling my kids. The same thing happens in your business.
Yeah.
When you get out there and you create those relationships, you lift each other up, you help each other out, you refer each other because you trust each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that doesn't take one meeting to go to and you tell people what you do and you make a sale. No, that takes going back time and time again and build on those relationships that you've already had an acquaintance with.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing, especially we've been trained, and I love the men for this, but we've been trained around the BNI principle, right? So that BNI principle is like you join, you pay your membership, and you're supposed to refer other people. Like from the moment you join, you should be referring and recommending other people based on your relationships with them. And that feels like a transactional relationship. And I think women, we don't want to treat each other as commodities.
Right.
You know, you're not somebody that I'm just trading, you know, clients and money for.
Right.
That feels very inauthentic for me as a woman. What I like is I want to build the relationship to find out who can I recommend you so it's the better fit.
Right.
And I'm not just throwing your name out everywhere.
Right.
So a lot of the times it's about creating those relationships because women aren't transactional like that.
Right.
I really, like, we can be.
Yeah.
I've met women that are totally good at that, but they're so in their masculine energy for how they treat people. And yet when you talk about the feminine energy, which is to nurture, care for, develop, and, you know, really understand, that's the female energy. That's what we're talking about when we say, how do you really understand how women create business, is that we are community.
Right.
And when we hold hands as women in business, the collaboration improves, the overall conversation improves. This is why, like, for Inside the Truth Mom Academy, we bring in women from all different businesses and industries because it's important.
Yeah.
You guys each hold a piece of the puzzle to unlock somebody else's business.
You do, because when you see other industries or like how people are building their business, it's like you learn from that, and they can also see how you're building your business, and they can either give you advice or they can glean from you to make their business a little bit better. That's how collaboration works. It's not just providing each other referrals, which are fantastic, but it's also, what do I see in your business that I can that would help your business to move forward? It's the same thing. It's like with my kids. I had moms show me things that were going on in my kids' lives that I was oblivious to because I lived with them. And it's the same thing with your business. You are so in your business that it's like there's blind spots that you're not even aware of, and it's like that people on the outside can see and help you with.
Yeah. And I will tell this, like, I know we're working with a lot of women in business, and I still source a lot of the male businessmen. I still look for my mentors, and I still have conversations. I still ask questions because I also know that the men hold a lot of information that I didn't know to ask.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like, again, because they pass down generationally a lot of the business knowledge, especially those that are been in business and successfully built businesses over and over and over again. There is something in their conversations that if I, as a woman, sit in at that table, even though I feel like I shouldn't be at that table, I do belong at that table. So I'm going to pull up a chair and ask questions because that helps me.
Right.
At the same time, I also understand that sometimes what their processes are very masculine in their nature. So I bring this back to Truth Mom Academy. I say, okay, how do we apply this, but in a more feminine way?
Yeah.
How do I work this so that women aren't overwhelmed? They're not hitting burnout, and they're not feeling like they've got to be on 24/7.
Right.
Because that's where how we approach business and how we incorporate rest, the guys want to see that. They're begging for us to kind of get back into that reset and come back to ourselves, but we never give ourselves time to reset, to come back into ourselves, come back into our bodies. And so when we do that, when we start to change the whole conversation.
Yep. I love it.
So I think when we talk about, you know, getting that money, women, like, not being afraid of the business loans, not being afraid of trusting the business to move forward, a lot of that has to understand that it's a lot of it's with your mindset, which we talk about a lot inside the Truth Mom Academy, is understanding your approach to it, owning your authentic self inside of your business and not trying to pretend to be something else. And then, you know, recognizing when you're so heavy into productivity, when do you step back and rest?
Yeah.
When do you take time just to be with your family, take that time off? Does that look like you're doing it once a month? Does it look like you're doing it, you know, a week a month? Like, I've met women that they work for 3 weeks and they take the last week off.
Yeah.
Why isn't that much more of how we're building as entrepreneurs? Because that time off as women is a key component for us to be able to step back into this conversation.
Right.
And get back into our business, because now we've had the time to refresh, reset, spend time where we need, and then go back to business. So
definitely
our cycle looks different in how we approach business, but I promise you we are much more productive. We are better. We take care of our family better. We feel better. They feel better. And it really does bleed into each other.
Yep.
So
Beautiful.
With that, thank you guys for jumping on and joining us and listening to our podcast. Did she really say that?
Yes, she
Because
did.
I know we've said a lot of crazy things in here, and we definitely cover a lot of different topics, but the financial conversation for us is really key. We could be talking about marketing. We could be talking about your avatar. We could be talking about your brand. But what we also know is that there are key components in your business that if you overlook these conversations and you don't do the education around it, you are going to continue to struggle with your business. And if we want more women, and our goal is to create more millionaires and small businesses hitting that $1 million business profit, right? But doing it in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
This is where this conversation has to come in.
I love it.
All right. So thank you guys for joining us. Follow us. If you like this podcast, you guys are enjoying our content, definitely give us a thumbs up. Give us a 5-star rating. Comment with us. Let us know that you're there. We love hearing from you. We do check comments. We want to know what you're up to. So definitely, stay in communication with us. And definitely, if you've got an opportunity, I said definitely quite a few times this last part.
Yeah, you did.
Head over to Truth Mom Academy. Go into your Google Play, your Apple Play, or Apple Store, and download our app. Get in there, start seeing what we're doing, start being part of the conversation, introduce yourself, set up your account inside of there like you do, anywhere else, and then just start looking at what we're building for you.
Yep.
And we're really building and constantly updating and improving the structure for this because we know this is an uncommon conversation. And we ourselves are learning it. We're just a step or two ahead of you, but we're going to continue dripping down on you what we're learning around the female business side of this, the female business model of this, so that you have the strength, the courage, the tenacity, and the authenticity to really build, take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your business, and do it without burning out.
I love it.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.